My brain just goes into just a million and one different places on that.
Yeah.
On
It's really weird.
On just like black and like white, I don't know what to call it. Racial dynamics,
solidarity.
racial dynamics, and like how that impacts how people perceive quote unquote organization and like what it should and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, like my whole thing has always been like, because of the history of this country and white supremacy, which is, you know, global to a certain degree, a large part of the globe is, you know, impacted by that. Like black people and indigenous people, people of, you know, certain backgrounds and groups should have the space to self-determine and operate around their, you know, cultural dynamics. I think the racial dynamics and power are obviously huge factors in that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, it's like people create a false choice of like balkanization or just everyone go into the predominantly white zone and just trust that it'll be okay because these are the good white people.
Right.
You know, and it's like, no, like we can operate in a decentralized and distributed way with shared values. And then people, person to person, black or white, can make their own decisions about who they're comfortable doing stuff with. And like, as individuals, regardless of our identities, which are, you know, layered identities, complex identities, like we all have different levels of comfort and experience with people of other backgrounds.
Right.
But people make it this very like, they make a moral judgment on you depending on how you sort of like, you know, it's like this in people's really simplistic minds, they think like, no, we basically we need things completely segregated.
Right.
And also I have a hierarchical mindset, so you do the math from there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're all gonna have our own little nation state and army, and that's real freedom and power and justice. And it's like
there on the one hand you could have the reality that like there is some necessity and political expedience to people organizing in their own separate groups, obviously, because they have shared values and needs and all these things. But then for a lot of people that becomes an end in itself.
Right.
Is that the goal of creating a space for just black people is an end in itself, when in reality it's just like, and like, sure, maybe it just ends up that way just by circumstance or whatever, but like to say that our end goal is to have this nation state or whatever the fuck for just black people or just white people or whatever, it's like you just got to be able to think past that. I don't even know if I had like
isn't it about freedom? And if it's about freedom, then isn't it about just what we're comfortable with and also what makes strategic sense?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for me personally, like we're always talking about like eco communities and things like that. I 110% think that poor and working class black people not only should have like, we should have our own physical, you know, space and territories where we can be sure, you know, we're going to have, you know, a say and control over things that are impacting our lives under this broader system of white supremacy.
Right.
I 100%, like we're already segregated.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're already segregated. So, and white supremacy exists. So to me, that's just a natural sort of like, that's like, of course.
Yeah.
I also think that there are black people who do feel more comfortable, sort of, or rather they feel comfortable operating in more diverse settings or contexts. But even in those contexts, I feel like it should be black and indigenous, you know, people who are prioritized, you know, in those situations in terms of like opportunities, in terms of access and so on and so forth. And that's just because I think there has to be some degree of repair in, you know, how we're trying to move forward together, you know. But like all of the stuff that I'm saying, like I don't know, like I feel like most of the discourse around this sort of stuff is so vague and abstract and like
to the point about the discourse. The thing I'm thinking of right now is the kind of like technology and social media spaces that we have these conversations on,
right.
Because, you know, like I'll do like a TikTok where I'm like not even throwing isms out there. I'm just like trying to have the conversation of like there was this one cringy person on TikTok going viral for talking about the homeless. Like it's bad to house them in places that are unflattering and not high quality. And they're reactionary. They're just a right winger. Like they are openly conservative. They're a gay conservative.
Just the one you sent. That was
maybe and I reacted to it. And I was like, it's just so funny that conservatives, you know, liberals, whatever, it's still within this like framework that we only have conversations about what a government could fund to create. That's the only way we talk about things. And so I was literally just talking about that, and it's just, you can, as you would expect, the comments were just like it was either just like basically Twitter kids talking, or it was just people being like against what I was saying, and that was it. And there was nothing like further than that. You can see some comments where people are like, "Oh wow," just like in general, like, "Oh, it's interesting." But it makes you think like what kind of conversations we could have if you know, there was that space to have more nuance and shit. Because clearly, it's like, I don't know. This is like, you know, preaching to the preacher in a way, but but like sometimes I do really feel like people are so far from this point. It's like I know we talk about this all the time, but it's like it sucks. It sucks how many people are not even close. How much needs to be like unwrapped.
And I think people use it to like to sort of invalidate your perspective in a lot of ways, where they say, because you align with these people, or you don't align with these people, that now you in a way get removed from access to this culture or this group of people, if that makes sense. Where people try to like reassign you racially based on who you hang out with, or like your interests and all these things, and use it to invalidate your space in where is, like, say if you do a certain thing, people are so quick to say, well, black people don't do that, and therefore the logical conclusion being, okay, well, this person is not black. Therefore, like, reinforcing this idea, this monolithic idea we have in our heads of what black people are, by boxing people out of it, based on what they do, who they hang out with, where they are, and all these things. And I think it's a lot of people who are aware of the fact that blackness is not a monolith, but then go and reinforce it in their daily lives. You know?
And I was gonna say, it's like, who benefits from that? It's all authoritarian people. It's just people who want to control other people. You know, it's like, I'm an alt nigga. You know, I'm for the alt niggas, fluidity, move around, fuck whoever you want to fuck. Like, you want to fuck with them? You want to fuck up? I care about you being free. You ain't got to fit into a box with me, because I love you.
Unless you like being inside boxes, in which case that's on you.
But you get what I'm
yourself up.
But you get what I'm saying. It's like
one of them vampire type niggas.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who they're calling me a vampire. There are a lot of people who like to take advantage of racial tensions in order to control narratives and ultimately people.
No, it's true.
And I think that's important to keep in mind, because no matter what identity you fit into racially or ethnically or your gender or whatever, it's like everyone's different, and everyone has different experiences. And I was going to say on the other side, like, I think people should understand, I said it in a previous episode, like empathizing just on one point about why Black people wouldn't want to do anything with someone who's not Black.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of, if you haven't been exposed to a lot of different people from different backgrounds and cultures throughout your life, or had close friendships with people who look different from you, or you even have trauma that you can relate along these racial dynamics yourself, like it makes sense, you know. And like you made a comment about like how far away people are from sort of
I was saying like anti-authoritarian, anti-state shit. That's what I was talking
about.
I
thought you were, I think it's related, but I thought you were talking more just so about like just perceiving relationships, and like, because honestly
also what I thought.
I realized I like I tangented slightly there, and we were talking about something else,
but I think there's like different ways that you could interpret that or like think about that. But I was gonna say, I think a huge part of that is how separated people are along racial, ethnic, class lines.
Right.
But then we're isolated as people and like alienated on top of that in this like digital age.
Yeah.
So it's like prime territory for these types of manipulative, you know, characters to come in and basically play this game of dehumanize the other so that I can be on top and
playing on the
lead
tensions
you.
Is a great way.
I can lead you, whatever that faction is.
Right.
And none of that discounts like the structural social realities of like oppression and discrimination and racism, all these things that exist in the world. It's like that doesn't discount it. It just says like, no, but we are all humans actually, and like so the process of us working together to get out of this mess has to be a process of humanization, mutual humanization. And this includes people use humanizing as if you're trying to like excuse or support something. It's like no, you're acknowledging that whatever a person or a people did or played a role in, they are a human being.
Right.
So it actually allows you to more critically analyze the ways in which you can address the problems and the solutions.
Right.
If you're just demonizing the other, if the other is just, you know, this person or these people or whatever are monsters, well then what are we talking about here? Let's have the race war now. Let's have the ethnic cleansing. Let's have the genocide now, you know?
Somebody, they're gonna pull that out.
Soundbite.
They're gonna pull that
soundbite season.
No
Z soundbite season.
No, obviously.